the good thing with black people is that we're, blessed with good teeth, but we have high blood pressure and diabetes. So, you win some and you lose some. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure you can really entitle good teeth to one particular race.
I can't.
I was just going to say that.
But I can say that, the majority of us have been blessed.
Do you think this looks like shit? Because, suck it up.
Whoa. I don't need that sass. But everybody, just to say, how y'all doing?
We didn't do our toast or anything.
Hold on. I'm just saying hello to the people. That's all. We're going live on a Zoom Facebook live call. We finally figured the shit out, or at least our producer Kate did. The lovely Kate. She figured it all out for us. And this is brought to you by Lucas Westfall this time. He went ahead and paid for it this time because, he's got money like that. So I just want to say thank you to Lucas and thank you to Kate for figuring out the live call and the
when you're single with no kids and work 90 hours a week, you get money.
I mean, hey, out.
I don't know if we needed that sad story or not, but that's fine.
Well, people like
explaining my situation.
Whatnot, so it's a situationship, right? But before we go ahead and get started with this live call, everybody, I just wanted to say again, if you like our videos and if you want to, please go ahead and share, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff because we appreciate the support. And so far, we've had a lot of good support and turnout with our videos. Apparently, you guys are liking something we're doing. So
I don't know, man. They might turn off now that they ain't see that mustache no more.
Damn. So you're gonna go straight to the mustache already? All right, it's like that.
Mm-hmm. That was in the first few minutes. Oh.
I couldn't even do the toast yet, and he's already clowning on me about mustache. So look, everybody, I had a mishap this weekend. I was shaving, and the kids were in the bathroom, and my daughter bumped me while I was using my straight razor. I nicked my lip a little bit, so I had to go ahead and take it off. I couldn't rock half a stash, so.
I mean, you got the confidence of a god, right? Why couldn't you?
Yeah, you're right. I do, but I got to keep that beard because, they say about men without facial hair. You know what they call them, right, Lucas?
I don't.
Women.
Okay, well, wait. Let me chime in.
I don't know. She's going to say something.
Hello. So I prefer my dudes without facial hair. I think it is, for one,
that's because you like crayon eaters.
Oh, shut up. And if you think about it logistically, when you're doing the things in the bedroom,
whoa,
it makes things easier,
Does
just have less stuff.
Does it though? Because then again, you are young still, so you don't appreciate the amount of effort it takes to keep this facial hair popping. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're not here to talk about me and my facial hair. We're live on Facebook. For one, I wanted to introduce Elly to the team, to everybody live, for everyone to see. That's the beautiful Elly. She's down there. She joined our team about a week ago. So everybody, please go ahead and welcome her to the All in a Day's Work team. She's going to be helping us out with our content along with our Facebook page, keeping up some posts and things like that. So that's really good. Good news. Welcome to the team, Elly.
I'm beyond happy to be here. You have no idea.
Oh, I'm glad you're happy.
Well, we're absolutely glad to have you on the team.
Plus, we could use a younger mind to help us with all this technical bullshit that we don't know anything about. Apparently, we got lost in the shuffle somewhere. So
you don't know anything about. I got this text.
Kate pulled it together. I don't want to hear that.
That's what the producers. Well, that's what the producers for, So, anyways, but before we get started with the rest of the video, because I do have some talking points for us today, not necessarily headlines, because that's a Lucas thing, but I got some definitely good talking points that you're gonna like for us today.
I got two big ones.
Oh, wonderful. But before we get started with that, we got to go ahead and take our shot of the day, or our toast of the day, in respect and honor of the men's room on 99.9 KISW. The men's room is on every day from 2 to 6 p.m. Pacific time. You can catch it on your local radio station. So give a shout out to the men's room. But we're going to take their saying that they do every day for their shot of the day. And if you guys are with me and you're at home and you'd like to take a drink with us, please do. Are you ready, Lucas?
I'm ready, sir.
All right, Elly, are you ready?
I am so ready.
That's what I'm talking about. So we pour this booze and we drink this booze because we think it's yummy. So over the tongue and down the throat to party in our tummies. Down the hola, bichola. Cheers, baby. All right. And everybody, just so y'all know, I just drink water. on the rocks.
Bro, do you think our audience is stupid?
No, I didn't think they're stupid. I just want to know. I drink water. That's all.
I appreciate the honesty, and also I'm judging the pussification of the podcast.
The what?
Pussification.
Is that even a word?
That is a word.
What's it mean then?
It means you're slowly becoming a vagina.
Wow. Well, you know what? I can't go out like no punk bitch. So everybody knows I just drink whiskey straight. That's just how it is. So Lucas is the one to drink water.
Does that look like water to you, bro?
Man, that's just Kool-Aid you put in that cup.
Look at all that freaking food coloring. We see you, Lucas.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look, that's why your lips is turning purple.
I got to go above and beyond for the people. I can't just tell them a lie without following through, making it look at least somewhat believable.
That's
actually fair. We love a believable abuser in this podcast.
We got to have at least one, right?
I guess that's got to be me, and I'm okay with that.
We don't have Franny here to talk about the roids and stuff like that right now, so we at least got to talk about. We know, trust me, we know. So everybody, again, I wanted to welcome Elly to the team. I wanted to talk about a little bit about her story, where she comes from, and kind of why she wanted to join our team, if you don't mind, Elly. So might as well just get right into this. So first things first, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
But before we do that, I just want to put a service announcement. Public service announcement out there. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, Elly, and take away from your time. But
yes, he does.
Shut up.
You can take all of my time.
Well, thank you. But I'm not gonna take all of it. I just want to point this out there. All right. The month that we are living in, which is what, April?
That's right. April.
April. All right. April is sexual assault awareness month. All right.
Yes,
if you know somebody maybe was abused or currently going through that, our hearts go out to you, obviously. Nobody should ever have to go through that thing, but there's a national sexual assault hotline. It's confidential 24/7. If you need to talk to somebody, it's like I said, it's fully confidential. We just want to bring up awareness of sexual assault. It happens more often than you think, and a lot of the times it goes unreported. So
yes,
again, this is April, is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So just trying to get the word out there for that.
Yeah. So please, if you do need help, don't be ashamed to ask somebody for help. There are so many people who just kind of hold that stuff in, and then years later they're finally able to release it and they feel a lot better for it. So, and I'm a victim of it myself from my childhood. So, it took me a long time to publicly release that information, even to my mother and my therapist, and then years later, finally out to everybody. So it's definitely something I can understand and relate to. So if you or a loved one, is out there going through it, please reach out for help. But don't feel ashamed. Never feel ashamed because you're a victim. It's not like you asked for that to happen. So
absolutely. And if you go to RAIN.org, it's the sexual assault awareness online website. It has all the information there, numbers to call, online chat rooms that you can get into. So that's RAINN.org.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Lucas, for that. Elly, it sounded like you had something that you wanted to say to add on to that, or as was first starting you say, not to caveat.
Not to piggyback off of Sir, but that's okay. So in my little introductory video, I don't know if, boy, I can go off about this forever. So just cut me off whenever you feel it's necessary. Well, let's start.
Go ahead.
Anthony, I feel it. I was sexually assaulted and lost my virginity to a family member at the ripe age of 13. So I get it. It's a lot. I actually did try to tell my mom, and she was like, sweetie, that's just what guys do in their sleep. And I was like a little emo 13-year-old, so I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, no, that's how the world works. Cool.
At 13?
No.
I don't care who you are. At 13 years old, there's nobody that should be messing around like that in their sleep.
Of course. And I completely agree.
Not to diss on your mother or anything like that, but that seems kind of messed up,
Absolutely.
especially for a 13-year-old girl who's reaching out for assistance and help and especially a very pivotal time. One, losing your virginity is a pretty fucking big deal, and to lose it against your will, that's not just what people do. So that's not something to dismiss.
And I will
say,
in her eternal defense, not that like necessarily it's the right move, but everyone makes mistakes. One, I did say it really lightly because I was so bashful coming forward. And like, really, she went through a lot when she had me at a very young age. Mm-hmm. So the whole time she was just doing her best. And I truly do not hold it against her. Completely respect it, actually. And I would say that played a vital role, a super vital role in who I am today. And I'd like to think I'm a pretty strong person, and I'm actually grateful for it. Absolutely. Not that should be the entire attitude towards sexual assault. That's not what I'm advocating for. Mm-hmm. If you want to be angry and hate the world and whatever else, that is completely your right. Completely.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody heals in different ways and at their own pace.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the oldest, but I've had a long time to deal with it, like that wasn't always the perspective. But anyways, let's just fast forward. So when I was a teenager, I was reasonably, you guys ready for this in-depth bio? Because here we go.
Let's go.
The people want to know.
So when I was a teenager, I was reasonably suicidal and emo. I definitely cut myself, did some really light suicide attempts. Clearly it never worked. So, I mean, did I really want to die? Debatable. Anyways, I finally figured out around the age of 16, and I always wanted to join the military. Literally ever since I was 6, and I have photographic evidence of it because it was a little drawing of what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said an army person because I didn't know better yet.
Hey.
But you went down the wrong path.
It's messed up.
What happened? You said army and then made the wrong choice. Just kidding, everybody. I love the Marines too.
My brother's a Marine. Screw them.
And we love the army too. We have a weird mutual respect for each other.
No, I mean, yeah, because the army's the shit.
It is shit.
It is shit. Anyways, moving on. That's
that awkward silence there for
So I decided around 16 that I could be as depressed and in my own feelings and oh woe is me as much as I wanted. If anything is my right, that's my right. Especially at that point in life, I felt I couldn't help my feelings.
Yeah, of course. At 16, you're still trying to figure out your feelings.
Exactly. Also, that didn't mean that I had to live life selfishly and for no one else. And so since I had always idolized the military, I figured that I could at least donate what was left of my life if, it was going to be unhappy regardless. Thank goodness I grew up and I found better things. But I figured I could at least donate it to the greater good. So that's how I joined the Marine Corps. And since joining the Marine Corps, I have been sexually assaulted twice. One time, debatable. There was alcohol involved and I had a head trauma.
It's not debatable.
Well, this one time actually truly is. I can't remember anything. All I know is it's a whole story, but I walked down an alleyway behind a bar with a guy because he was being really obsessive with me and violent. And so I was trying to calm him down. And all I remember is walking back to that back door of the bar that had this bright light above it. And there was blood running down my face. Yeah. So it truly is debatable. And I actually still to this day, as creepy and obsessive as he was, I do think he really cared about me. So I really don't know what happened, and I'm not going to claim to know. I'm just saying it's possible. Yeah. So 2 no-shit sexual assaults, all the way. one sexual assault where it was attempted, and I was like, well, I was asleep, so I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I woke up, and he stopped, and he respected it. And I fought off 2 other attempts.
Wow.
So
And you've been in 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I would just like to say that I'm the kind of person, and especially like given the childhood aspect, like I truly do learn the hard way. Mm-hmm. Not to victim blame, because that's never a thing, because it's always the perpetrator's fault. But there were so many instances in which I could have made a better choice, and I just would have never been in this situation. Again, not saying it was my fault, because I know it's not.
Mm-hmm. Right. Do you, obviously it's changed you and made you a better adult, right? It's made you more aware, for different triggers and different things to pick up on and cues, especially, when you're starting to drink and things like that. But do you think that in hindsight, if you would have known then what you know now, the situation would have been different? And not only that, but do you think that you still would have turned out in the same, Elly that you are today?
I'm so glad you bring that up. Yeah, that's like what I was trying to allude to, but I wouldn't change a damn thing about what I've been through. Mm-hmm. I am so flaws and all, so proud of the person I am now.
Absolutely. That's what I was hoping to hear. Because regardless, trauma is a learning experience. We always learn from trauma. I'm not going to sit here and preach to everybody and try to act like I'm an expert. I just know from experiences. We always learn from trauma. And especially, sorry, buddy. That's the bears. Ow.
They're big as bears.
Oh, but to go through such a daunting experience, especially young in the military, where you're supposed to look at the people to your left and to your right as your brothers, as your family, as a cohesive team. They're supposed to have your back. For instances like that to happen in the military, that has to be, I think, in a sense, almost more traumatizing than it happening, just a random civilian or somebody down in the street, But they always say that when sexual assaults occur, it's usually somebody that you thought you were really close to. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Elia. You don't have to raise your hand. This ain't school.
I will say, so for one, I've heard both sides of the I deserve to be angry and say fuck this, and it made me stronger and it made me a better person. Obviously, one sounds better. One is ultimately the better choice, like just for your own sanity. Mm-hmm. But it's easy to don't let other people saying that take away from your grieving process. You deserve every stage of it. Mm-hmm. It's not anyone else's pace. It's not anyone else's opinion. It is purely you and how you're going to get through it without dire circumstances.
Absolutely.
And I will also say, he brought up how much of a betrayal it is to be, have that done by like a fellow service member, because it is a brother and a sisterhood. It's a very, very tight bond. And it is a betrayal. And that being said, there was one attempt, the one that respectfully stopped, and then one actual full-blown, those, only the 2 were done by service members. So I don't want it to be necessarily perpetuated that it is a problem.
No, it absolutely is.
You don't want it to be blown out of proportion, that's all the military entails. And yeah, I recently made a post about it. Yeah. Literally last weekend, I hit my 5-year mark in the military. And boo, I know. But I like after a lot of therapy, because access those resources, use it, they're there for a reason.
And
After
they're free.
using all of that, I was able to see it from a very level perspective.
Yeah.
And the positivity that the military has brought greatly, greatly, greatly outdoes any of the negativity.
That's a good point. They have these programs and these counseling sessions and things that are free for service members to use.
Use them, please.
Use them. But I do want to point out that there is a stigma that comes with utilizing mental health resources, regardless of whether. Hold on, I don't worry. I'm gonna let you speak. Regardless of how bad the traumatic experience is, especially coming from, I mean, I joined the Army in 2009, which isn't that long ago, but even from then and going through my first tour, while I was on my first tour, going to what they called combat stress therapy at the time, it was deemed that I was a pussy for reaching out and trying to get help and things like that. It hurts. So I can see why a lot of people do hold it in and don't speak up about it, especially in the military, because we're, especially for us combat guys, like, you're made to be, the hard charging dude to go down range, kick ass, take names, come back, drink, and do it all over again. You're supposed to be looked at as the big guy, the hero. But now
the one that never breaks.
That never breaks. But now all of a sudden you're going to therapy, and it's like, oh, what the hell's wrong with this guy? He's a pussy now. He's getting soft on us. And regardless of if that's how most people feel.
That's the worst.
Well, it's only it hasn't been until recently where mental health has really started to get more traction and talk about as being a positive thing. I even know command units that were talking negatively about soldiers for seeking mental health, or they're just faking it to try to get out of a mission or something like that. But at the end of the day, you don't know what's going through that person's head. And I believe it is a duty of any kind of team leader, squad leader, anybody that is in charge of somebody's welfare, well-being, especially downrange, to look out for those mental cues. You have to know your people. And you should never try to belittle somebody for seeking those resources that are there for you. They're there for a reason. They're there because people need them. And, you have to take out the idea that they're just trying to get out of it, or whatever that is, because especially, like I say this, when you're downrange, you don't know what that person's going through. One, being away from family and loved ones, going into a combat environment or not. And then they also have their personal life back home where, who knows, you could have got that Dear John letter or found out, Jody's sleeping around with whoever. You just don't know. Financial problems, health problems with your family.
Not just that. Like, you kind of alluded to it with the being downrange thing, but like, I don't think that's fair enough to cover everything that could possibly happen. Not saying that I've had a combat deployment, because I have not. But the amount of fucked up shit that you can see over there should be like a bullet point all of its own.
Well, I talked to Lucas about this real strongly. I don't want to cut you off, Luke.
No worries, man. No worries.
I talked to him real strongly about this the other day, and we had a decent conversation. The military spends so much time preparing you, one, just becoming a civilian, or from a civilian into becoming a soldier or Marine, airman, whatever, right? You spend, at least in the Army, I know, 9 weeks plus of basic training, changing you from civilian to soldier. And then you go through however many weeks of specialized training for your MOS, right? Mm-hmm. And then depending on what your MOS is, you go through advanced training when you get to your unit, to specialize and refine your skills and prepare for whatever the unit's mission is. So you're constantly training, right? You're constantly doing this thing. However, when you're transitioning out, other than like the 30 days to 2 week classes they have you doing on your way out the door, they're not preparing you for the real world on the outside. They're not preparing you for the mental health, right, that you're going to endure. They're not really preparing you that. They want to check the block, build this resume, apply for 2 jobs, turn in your gear, and make sure your leave is straight. You know what I mean? For the most part, this is what they're doing.
And I told you this the other day when we had this conversation. I literally had my whatever the ACAP process is
ACAP,
now, right?
SFL tap, ACAP.
Yeah, whatever that is, right? I had whoever the instructor was, and I can't remember who it was at this time, but they literally said this dude was asking them like, "Hey, I'm doing this in the military. I want to get this kind of job when I get out, but I need help with my resume." And they're like, "Oh, it looks good enough. Just apply to 2 jobs." But I want one of these careers right here.
Yeah.
But no. Don't worry. You can get those later. Just apply for like McDonald's or Burger King or something right now.
Yeah, they don't care. They just want you to apply for
like,
2 jobs.
Really? All right.
What kind of success are we going to set up our servicemen and women for? And then the massive, crazy process to deal with the VA on the same side. Be told,
which is just a mess, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other podcast.
Before, yeah,
that's a whole other podcast. But you have these situations that go on day in and day out, and what I'm getting at with this to tie into mental health is that starts to wear on you, and it beats you up, and this is why you see so many veterans take their own lives. The fact that 22 servicemen or former servicemen and women, and I think it's actually even more, but we stick with pretty much the relative number 22 a day.
I think it went up to like 23, 24.
The fact that happens on a daily basis by suicide is ridiculous, because suicide can't be prevented.
Absolutely. And going back to what you said earlier today, mental health issue.
Like, real quick, it can be, not only can it be prevented, because that sounds like such like an extreme measure, but like it could be prevented for free.
Absolutely. For free.
It's literally just a resource to access.
And like I always say, like you never know what somebody else is going through. You don't. Some people like to be closed off and try to shut themselves out from the world.
Right.
That's what I do.
What you looking at, Kate?
But we're
not talking about me.
going back to suicides, and this goes far beyond the military. It's an issue throughout the country. Right now, suicide deaths per 100,000 is almost 15 per 100,000, and mental health, depression, all that stuff that plays a factor into suicide. It's not just a military issue, and I know we're generally talking about military right now, but I mean, this is a far broader problem for the whole country than just relating down to the military. So, absolutely. I mean, if you happen to be watching this, like we always said, like we always will say, and you're not in the military, there's still resources out there for you to use. Go get help. Just because we talk specifically to the military in some of these programs doesn't mean that you're excluded from seeking help. All right.
And everybody deserves to get help.
Absolutely. And, it doesn't matter what your background, what you went through, there's help out there for you. Don't ever think that you're alone. Somebody has been through what you're going through. There are people out there helping you that want you to have a happy, successful life. You just gotta look for it.
You do. You have to look for it. And I think the military has a duty. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I think the military has a duty to ensure that servicemen and women's mental health is at tip-top shape before they get out.
Absolutely.
That's my opinion. It should be at tip-top shape.
Not even before they get out. At all levels, because we're not trying to go to other countries and rape and pillage.
No, you're absolutely right at all levels, especially while you're in, it doesn't, at this point, it doesn't matter what kind of unit that you're in. the fact that we have servicemen and women that are taking their lives because they can't get promoted, and they're also going through family problems, but nobody's checking up on them. That's an issue.
Absolutely.
That's an issue, and it does need to be talked about.
It does need to be talked about.
Absolutely.
But this is the thing with the military. Oh, this is going to be controversial.
Well, be careful. Remember, you're still on active duty, so there's certain things you can say that, or that we can say that you probably can't.
I don't think I can be punished by this, but I'm going to say it anyways because I believe in it.
Go for it.
There are some reasons, which at least at the surface length, because like you never what happened in the childhood. You don't know what happened in the childhood. But there are some quote unquote reasons that other people subjected them to that they don't know, to be fair. That they don't seem like they quite cut it. And ultimately, the point I'm trying to get to is closed mouths don't get fed.
That's true.
If you are just so deeply struggling and you choose to continue to struggle, not saying that it's an easy choice to reach out, because it's really freaking not. It took me so much trauma to be like, yeah, no, I'm not okay. And it took great leaders of mine to push me to the resources.
It absolutely does. It takes a good leader, but it takes somebody who can recognize the idea and the fact that something is off with you.
Yes, and
it takes a good leader to recognize those types of things.
Not even a good leader, just a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It doesn't have to be a leader. It takes a good person
to take the accountability off of anyone other than the person struggling.
Yeah, I mean,
it is truly on you. It really is. And that sounds horrible and that sounds hard. But you have to want to fight for yourself. People can fight for you all day and night. But you have to be willing to fight for yourself first.
Yeah.
Fuck what other people have to say about you. Fuck their opinions.
Go ahead. Fuck it. Fuck them all.
Fuck what you think about what other people think. Like, that's just not the point. When you're at a point that dark, for one, you should be proud, in my opinion. Well, you should be so proud, because that means that you're not just a spoiled, bratty bitch, essentially.
Well, let me explain something real quick.
Real quick. I'm almost done.
No, you're good.
You have something that sets you above the rest, right? So own that shit. No matter how hard it was, own it. Let it add to your character. Let it make you a better person. Let it make you more admirable. Fight, please fight through it. And everything will be better. Go ahead.
The hardest part with that is identifying and recognizing that there is an issue. That's the hardest part. Because we like to live in a sense of denial. Well, it's not that bad for me. It's just how it is. Or maybe I'm overthinking this. It's truly understanding and identifying that there is an issue. Before you can fight, before you can do anything, you have to understand that there is a problem and come to terms with that. Once you come to terms with that, then the idea of fighting for the betterment of your mental health and helping others, once you're able to identify it, you're able to do that. You're able to move forward and actually help yourself. But I think for me, that was always the hardest part, is identifying that, yes, there is an issue. I do need to talk to somebody. You know what I mean? And I think that's where relying on other people to help give you that extra push, that extra nudge, and be like, hey, man, I've noticed this, and this. Maybe you should do something. Maybe we should talk to somebody. Or let me have it. Let me take some of that burden just for a moment. You know what I mean? We're stronger together. We're better together. And
I'm
a lot of time people feel like they're walking through this road by themselves. And that sucks. That sucks, especially when you're in that dark space. You know, tomorrow, I believe we're supposed to be talking with a guy who is a mental health specialist for veterans who focuses on suicide prevention. So, and he's a combat veteran.
So if you guys are watching, you got a good episode coming tomorrow.
Absolutely. So that'll be nice to, you know, go on and really dive into a professional standpoint as well, to get their opinion. So we don't have to continue beating the dead horse today, because this isn't an issue that we're going to fix in one day.
Hey man, all things are possible.
Well, I think we need more people to identify and understand that it is a thing before we can fix it in a day, you know? So that's, you know, these are great things that, you know, we're talking about. And Elly, I don't want to say I'm sorry for what happened to you at such a young age, because I can see the growth and how much it's made you a strong person today. But my heart does go out to you for experiencing that at a young age, and then to continue to go through similar things like that in the military, where you are supposed to be in a brotherhood, a sisterhood with those to your left and to your right. So my heart does go out to you. And we all know, you know, for being an attractive female in the military, it has its troubles. You're gonna get those. You know what I'm talking about. You're gonna get them Jody calls, the looks, the whistles. We know it happens, especially when you're new to a unit. Everybody wants to know who's a pretty new girl.
Not even to a unit, to a company, a platoon, a squad.
Now, when you first get to duty station, you know, they can always tell. And unfortunately, there are those older people who've been in the unit a little while, who are comfortable, who prey on the younger people or the newer people coming to the unit, because especially when you're coming to a new unit, people who have already served together for a while, they've been through the shit together, they have that cohesive bond. You're the new booty now, so all you want to do is fit in. So I can just imagine, you know, being an attractive female to go through that process, just wanting to fit in and do your job for the most part. And then you also have that on top of it to deal with. You know, I know it's a thing, it's an issue, and better you than me, I
one
guess.
of the biggest reasons I started dipping was so, like, I figured if I had a facial tumor, I would be less attractive.
Damn. Well, I mean, you know, I don't know about a tumor or nothing like that, but I think
maybe
just the dipping alone.
There are so many other ways to approach it. Don't do that to deflect any negative attention.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, everybody has their thing, you know. Everybody has their thing, and it's kind of sad that you have to do that in order to try to take that attention away from you.
Okay, real quick, let me also clarify before you go to woe is me on me. Well, woe is you, if we're being technical, but
yes, throw that out there.
I think it's hot. Like, don't get me wrong, I get a certain sense of pride. Don't know why, don't know what it's linked to. I grew up in a state where, like, dip wasn't a thing, but, like, the first time I saw some dude with a tumor in his lip and spitting brown liquid, I was like, fuck it up, daddy.
Oh my God. Well, you're just a different kind of breed, I guess.
You really are.
Damn. Nah, that's I mean, but you know what? Everybody has their thing. Everybody has their thing, regardless of, you know, whether it's dipping or who cares? It doesn't matter.
Drinking, hoeing out, gambling.
Yeah, you know, all them things.
Stripping.
All those
any
things.
sin that's your thing, we're here for you, baby girl. We'll support you, and we'll try to also make you get better with it.
Except for OnlyFans, right, Lucas?
No, I'm all about that OnlyFans, bro.
My man. Well, at least you're moving up and starting off on the thing, right? Then again, everybody remember, check out my OnlyFans page, Dad Boss and Dad Rods. Got that for you. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, nothing to say about that one.
moving
What
on.
the
So,
fuck do you mean you have an OnlyFans?
whoa. So, anyways, as I want to talk to,
on.
as I want to talk to about some of the talking points that I had for everybody out there, I was listening to another podcast with a pretty smart man that I like to say, known as the name goes by the name of Joe Rogan. I'm sure you've heard his podcast.
Like the
before.
only podcast you listen to.
Exactly.
Other than ours, right?
Well, of course.
But then again, I don't really listen to us too often. That's for the other people. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I was listening to one of, or actually a few of them, and there are some key points of discussion that they were talking about that I thought, hey, we need to be talking about this too, because some of this has to deal with us as, law-abiding, gun-carrying citizens. Hell, just being a citizen in the United States of America. So there's a few talking points that I picked out that I thought that I know for a fact that Lucas would like to talk about. And I just can't wait to hear your opinion, Elly, because yeah. So if you guys don't mind, I want to kind of jump into at least one of those talking points.
Let's go for it, man.
So one of which I kind of brought up to you on Sunday, Lucas. And this one is aimed towards transitioning out of the military and becoming an adult. Okay. So the talking point, or the thing that I was thinking about was, and I kind of brought this up earlier, is, going through the military, especially for a lot of us, you join 17 years old, 18 years old. You're still becoming a young man or woman, right? You're barely old enough to vote. And now you have this sense of responsibility that's going to be put onto you, right? But what I think the military does, and I understand why they do it, because they want efficiency 100% of the time, all the time, right? Mm-hmm. They give you the right place, right time, right uniform. They tell you exactly what you need to do all the time. They write a book and they try to break it down, as we always say, break it down Barney style, mm-hmm. right? So that way you cannot fuck it up. It's like, look, it says right here, X, Y, and Z. You do this.
And people still fuck it up.
And they do. There are special people out there, but it's done so much in the military that I think what we're seeing now with people, especially with the newer generation joining the military, it's almost a detriment to our young people, to people in general. And this is what I mean. The military spends every waking moment when it does its training and development telling you exactly what you need to do. So the way I put it is, they hold your hand pretty much through every little thing you do. You have a leader that you look up to, and they look up to that leader, and it goes up the chain all the way up, right? The chain of command. And if brand new Joe Schmo soldier messes up on whatever said task, is up to that team leader and the squad leader to fix them, and then the platoon sergeant and platoon leader get involved, and the first sergeant, and it just works its way up. But every step of the way, there has to be some kind of plan. There's something that they do to ensure that either the mistake doesn't happen again, that you learn from it, and that you can develop and teach somebody else to not make that same mistake. Right? Which is okay for the military standpoint. Now let's take that for the guy who does 4 years and gets out of the military, 5 years, 8 years, gets out of the military, and now is forced to think on their own in the civilian sector. And they don't know what to do because they're so used to sergeant stepping in and holding their hand and giving them the right answer all of the time. It would be one thing if it was only some of the time in the military spent or put out this idea that we want you to be a free thinker and your idea or opinion matters. But it's the military. Your opinion doesn't matter. Your ideas don't matter because we're going to go off of doctrine, right? This is what it says. This is how we do it to standard. Right?
If you even do it to standard.
But it depends on the complexity, right? Mm-hmm. But so what I'm getting at is the military spends so much time and effort and energy on making sure that there is no stone left unturned, right? And that it's always done the same way and the right way every time. They hold your hand, they coddle you. You're coddled in the military. You don't have to think.
Yeah.
You especially as a younger soldier, you don't have to think. So the 18-year-old kid who joined at 18 and gets out at 21, who never had to think as an adult at all, now gets out and wants to apply for a job, and then he gets mad because he doesn't get the job. Well, he doesn't know how to think, or she doesn't know how to think. You end up in situations, and then these individuals end up becoming police officers, firefighters, EMTs, private security. They end up becoming, whatever, where they are forced to think on their own, and they just cannot do it, and they cannot grasp that concept. You know what I'm saying? They just can't. They don't understand the idea because their entire adulthood up until that point has been handheld. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And let me throw something in there. It's not an excuse. It just like it truly isn't. Because if you genuinely gave a fuck, you would do all of the research in the world, and you would do everything you could, especially if you're going into a role such as police officer, firefighter, EMT, anything that just directly deals with human lives. Mm-hmm. It's not an excuse. It's not something to lean on. And in my personal opinion, it's not necessarily something to pity. It should be something to think about from like a leadership perspective to fix. But if you don't value human life enough in those roles to figure it the fuck out and learn how to fight and learn how to do the right thing, then, like, by God, should you cost another human their own life?
Well,
I hope you're in prison forever / getting the death penalty.
Well, you have to think about, the human brain doesn't stop fully growing until about 25, right?
No pity, not an ounce.
I'm not going to make an excuse. I'm just trying to open up the door so you can see a different perspective here. Okay. So you have these guys who don't know, really how to think on their own. I'm not, and the reason I bring this up is because Lucas and I, we definitely see this every day.
I know you see the pit stain. Don't judge it.
No judgment here. We all
we're black. That's why we're black.
We all got
brain may not fully develop by then, but when we're talking fully developed, we're talking about intrinsic human relationships.
Some people are introverted.
The value of human life.
No, you're right. But some people are just introverted and they don't understand how to express or even think for themselves or have free will because they've never had that opportunity.
That's where Darwinism occurs, and they shouldn't be a part of that city.
Think about the kid who, is 18 years old, just not going to college. So he's 18 years old, his entire childhood, teenhood, and now he becomes an adult, doesn't go to college, he joins the military. So he's had mommy and daddy in the school telling him what to do for 18 years of said life. Join the military, and now you have drill sergeants and first sergeants and everybody telling you exactly what to do for the remainder of your portion of the military. Day in and day out, they tell you what to do. And then you get out. Let's say it's only 3-4 years. I'm not making excuses, but now you're forced to think for yourself. And the Army doesn't, at least I can only speak for the Army, doesn't do a fantastic job in your transition on the outside. So now you get out there and you're kind of thrown to the wolves. And it's like, well, figure it out. You're grown. And you run into the situation where we run into, Lucas, where we don't have any pity for these guys. So look, you're fucking grown. Make up your mind, make a decision to stick with it.
So I'm like you. So I have no pity for it. I have no pity for it. You're grown. You're able to make your own choices. So you should take the responsibility of learning about said field, making the right decisions, and learning who you are as a person, so you can move forward in life.
Right.
100%. So I was 17 when I joined the military. I was that situation. My mom was very, I don't want to say controlling.
Hey,
She was very,
Lucas, can you move your mic a little bit? You're coming in a little broken.
is that
Maybe
better?
turn it up. Maybe turn it up just a little bit. See if you had just
How's
came
that?
over.
How's
If you
that?
had just came over and used a professional mic.
I asked you if you wanted me to come over. You said whatever you want. All right.
Exactly. So obviously you didn't want to.
Don't lie. No, because I got shit to do today.
So obviously you didn't want
Spicy.
to.
I would just like to throw in there real quick that they always use poop bands when they meet each other. Nothing about it is
What?
false.
What?
Say what?
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 What? We said what?
Anyway, moving forward. So I was that kid, right? I joined the military at 17. My mom, she had a, like I said, I don't want to say controlling, but she was very influential in the
Oh, you can
decisions
say it.
that I made.
You
No,
can
no,
say
I'm not.
controlling.
I'm not gonna say that because I'm not gonna give the people the wrong idea of who my mother is. She
Okay.
wasn't controlling.
That's
All
fair
right.
enough.
She
She
He's
might
was
be
trying
very
to talk
watching.
about his mama. Excuse you?
Whoa. I would never talk about Mama Westfall like that.
she'll cut you, bro. Trust
I
me.
bet she will. I bet she will.
So
No,
she
I
was
wouldn't
very
do that.
influential with the decisions that I made, right?
Mhm.
And so she was that parent that's like wanted to know everything, like who you going out with, where you going to be at, who's all going to be there, what time you're going to be home. I need updates every so often. She was that kind of parent, right?
Who you're dating?
Yeah, and while I didn't have a lot of when I was in high school and going through the recruitment process, I didn't have a lot of control over some of the decisions that I made, which is fine. In that aspect of it, she taught me. Looking back on it now, she taught me what the right decisions to make, right? To be aware of who's going to be in certain situations,
Right.
and to be aware of those people who are there associated with, so on and so forth. And then when I got into the military, and that's when I really did all my dirt was in the military. I learned what not to do because she was so influential and she held so much control over the decisions that I made growing up, which is how it should be. She's a parent. She wasn't my best friend. She wasn't there for me to like her. Granted, I love my mom, don't get me wrong, but the decisions that she made wasn't there to make me happy. It was to make me a better person. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so when I got to the military, I didn't have that. So while as far as work is concerned, they controlled all my decisions. Be here at this time, do this. This is how you're going to do it, so on and so forth. Outside of that work day, right? I made my own decisions. That's when I learned my decision making process, right? So when I got out, I did 5 years, got out, and then I was 3 years National Guard. I still had to learn. I didn't have that person looking over my shoulder like the military or my parents. So I messed up a lot within my first year, 2 years out of the military. But I learned, I grew. I wasn't oblivious to the consequences behind my actions. I knew from a very logical standpoint, if I do this, then this is going to happen. If I do this, this is going to happen. If I choose to make this decision instead of this decision, then these are the consequences that I'm going to have to make.
Absolutely.
And that's a part of growing up. Like I said, I have no pity for people that make the wrong decision. I'm a firm believer in there are consequences to every action, and if you're grown enough to make that decision, then you're grown enough to pay the consequences.
I agree with you. And I believe that you have to hold people accountable for what they do and what they fail to do.
Absolutely. Elly, go ahead.
Thank you, Lucas.
Doesn't the Zoom thing have a button that you can put to raise your hand, or am I tripping?
Yes, do. Okay, yes. Also, it would be super funny. Also, I'd thought about it, and I don't know if like the viewers can see that.
I don't think so. I think it's just us. Oh,
exactly.
Did you just raise your hand?
I did.
Oh, okay. It's kind of funny.
It's super funny, and that was my joke at the beginning. Rude. Also,
but see, he did it. He did it. That's why it's funny.
Go ahead, Elly.
This is why I'll never be a comedian. I'm not here for people stealing my jokes. I'm just not.
And Lucas does steal people's jokes. Lucas is known for that shit. I'll say a bunch of sayings and stuff, and I you can ask Lucas. I have a lot of one-liners that I just come up
that
with.
You stole from movies. All right,
hold on now. We gonna put my business out there like that for everybody to hear. So I watch a lot of old movies, right? And I love to pick up on like one-liners and stuff that just hit, right? And I'll say them, and they stick. But my problem is, I like force Lucas to watch these older movies, and then when he hears those one-liners, he'll just sit there and look at me like, "Motherfucker, where you got that shit from?" But yeah, anyway, go ahead, Elly. You was gonna say?
Yeah, you was gonna say something.
I was, but you guys distracted me, and like the whiskey is doing no favors, and the rum. But
yeah, she over here
drinking whiskey and rum.
Whiskey and she don't forgot what she was gonna say.
Yep.
Like, let me take one of the dips out of my mouth with some respect, okay?
Respect with the K, capital K.
So regardless of the role models you grow up with, regardless of what you're shown, don't get me wrong, definite scientific evidence that if you have a shitty upbringing, you're going to be a shitty person. Understand that?
That's not true. That's not entirely true.
Debatable. I'm not saying that means that like always you're going to be a shitty person, because that's obviously not true. No blanket statement towards anything is entirely true.
Just be careful when you use absolutes.
Correlationally, though, the worse childhood you have, typically, the shittier of a person you'll be. Typically. Not always, typically. Some, like, the fucking angels of this world can just learn from it like no other. I'm not even that great. I always have to learn things the hard way.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the best way to learn.
I also, like, I agree, but, like, if you're able to take someone else's lessons so seriously that you're able to apply it to your own life, then, bitch, more power to you. Like,
so I heard it explained to me like this right here. Experience is your best teacher, right? But evaluated experience is what's going to lead you to success. And what they mean by that is
that's some deep shit.
When you go through things, that's experience. But when you evaluate other people's experiences and they can't apply it, it's going to make you that much better, because now you don't even have to go through it. You just learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes in with trial and error, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have three people doing the same task. They all fail differently. You're able to pick out what they did wrong, try to apply that and to do better.
Yeah.
I've had my own experiences with that. I've had my own parent say, "Don't worry, Elly, you're going to have to learn the hard way, just like me," in just the most condescending and hateful way, while I was on leave trying to have a good time after an experience. So I completely understand both sides. But that being said, if you're able to learn from other people's experiences, like, bitch, fuck it up.
I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Right on you.
In some aspects, I kind of like to learn from other people's experiences. That way I don't have to ever go through that, or at least it allows me to think that I don't want to go through that experience. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've never been to prison as a prisoner, but I've talked to people who have, and I don't want to go through that experience. You know what I mean? I've learned.
That's an easy, relatable example.
But you can understand where I'm coming from. And then I can also respect that same kind of mindset for the individual who has heard some of our stories, let's say coming from the military, that doesn't want to go through the military.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I used to be a firm believer that every single person that is in America should have to serve, right? They should have to serve in the military, at least do some kind of minimum contract. But then I started looking at the level and intelligence level of some of the people that are out there, and I don't think that everybody is fit to serve. And we're starting to see a lot more of that when you start to lower standards and things like that. And then you allow people who probably wouldn't have been able to serve, now they're allowed to serve because the standards lowered. And then you get situations like them fighting for men to wear nail polish in the military instead of being combat effective. That's just an example. I don't want to get too far into the details, but you see where I'm going with.
I do see where you're going with, and out of all of the things to fight for, that does seem to be one of the smaller things to fight for. Completely agree. Not necessarily saying that, like, I don't know, nail polish or tattoos in certain areas should be the biggest deal when you're talking about killing people in foreign countries.
Thank you.
But there are better things to fight for sure. Not saying that the military is just super degraded and not worth joining at all.
No, I do believe that it has a very, very good benefit, and I don't regret at all joining the military. I mean, you ask Lucas, I talk about it pretty much every day. I wish I could be back in. I didn't want to get out when I got out. That was my dream job. So
I'm so sorry.
But
now you're at the great place that I work at.
Yeah. We don't want to talk about that. I think Gary might be listening.
But you're also let's not make it that dark, because that's a dark way to put it. But you are also
it's also reality.
Okay, reality or not, don't subjugate it to something that's less than what it is. You're still in a great point in life. You still have a great job. You have a beautiful family. You're doing amazing things for the community. And just honestly, you're probably suicide.
No,
like that's a huge thing.
I'm a very, 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 very humble person.
But
are you though?
Shut up.
I can be cocky at times, but you know what I'm saying.
All the time.
What can I say, man? I can sell rubbers to a nun. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding, everybody. I'm not that cocky.
Okay.
I'm just confident. I'm just confident.
Also, Lucas.
What?
Regardless of how cocky he is, he's
confident.
Still doing things, and don't degrade it.
No, I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'll say nothing but positive things. I tell him this stuff all the time. That he's in a great spot.
I just don't listen. I'm hard.
No, you don't. You're hard-headed.
I'm stubborn. I'm hard-headed. I'm a Pisces. What do you expect?
So
you can't talk. You can't talk either. You the same way.
I'm a Pisces.
Same way.
I'm
you
not
and I
hard-headed.
think so much alike. You ain't hard-headed.
Nah.
Anthony.
Lucas.
Anthony.
I will fight you right now. I know for a fact you are hard-headed.
You don't want these hands.
It's your slow ass. All I gotta do is hit you in the right knee. Sorry,
you want to talk about knees, right?
Hold on now. Anyway, Elly, you were saying? We got to talk about my knees, man. I know I got old knees, but hey.
I see how this is. I'm only convenient when you just like don't want to get called out. That's cool.
Whoa. No, I just figured, I would bring you into the conversation because you mentioned my name, like you had something to say.
Yeah.
And you're only 23, so you got young knees. We got old knees, so,
Don't say we, bro. My knees are fine.
Motherfucker, I heard your knees.
Nope. Okay, hold on.
Speaking it into existence, man. I got good news.
Guys, I need complete radio silence for this, okay? I'm going to twist my knees so you can hear them.
I don't want to hear that.
Too bad.
Elly farted, everybody.
That's exactly what that was.
That wasn't knee popping. That was farts. It's the dip and the whiskey mixing together. She's got the gas.
Okay.
Oh, doo-doo butt.
If anyone believes that, I have active rights to this group. You will leave this group.
Don't worry about it. I'll just add you back. Y'all know how to find me on Facebook.
Yeah, you get like 70 friends a day.
Hey. Don't bring up my Facebook stuff, man. That's, you know what I'm saying? Just because, you know what I'm saying? We gotta go out there like that.
You opened the door.
Didn't mean that you had to dive into Pandora's box.
What can I say? I'm hard-headed.
Yeah, that ain't the fucking truth. All right, everybody. Sorry for that. We got sidetracked there. We over here circling around.
Sorry.
Again, just to kind of go back where we were talking about, we've talked about the military and how suicide prevention and just mental health awareness is a huge topic of discussion. We've also talked about how the military kind of calls you and holds your hand through the beginning stages of your life, especially for those that are young, coming up in the military, and how there's not much emphasis and effort put on to individuals as they're transitioning out of the military.
Absolutely.
And I do give it to the military. They do identify that this isn't an issue, and they pay for these programs, ACAP, SFL TAP, and whatever you want to call it, that sound really good on paper to help set you up to transition out. However, the effectiveness is what we're not talking about. We're not, once you're out, there's no follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's zero follow-up once you're out. They just, all right, check the block, do a resume, apply for 2 jobs, and you're out the door. Mm-hmm. But where's the follow-up? And this is where I am so passionate about, and this is, again, why I wanted to start this organization is, well, why? You have to stop back and thinking, look, why are there so many homeless veterans? Why are there so many jobless veterans?
Well, that kind of goes into that.
Let's really think about it.
It kind of goes into that stigma that no employer wants to hire veterans, because that stigma that every veteran has PTSD, every veteran is going to flip out, you know, and cause harm, which is absolutely not true.
You know, this is why statistically you will see prior service members joining those more tougher jobs like law enforcement, private security, protection details, firefighter, EMT, construction, these more labor intensive jobs because of that, because these bigger businesses who want people with skills, but don't recognize those skills because you were spent 8+9 years in the military.
And if you look at just the ones that you listed off, majority, if not all of those, require some sort of putting yourself at risk.
Absolutely.
Right. And when employers look at that, especially with those in particular, like, oh, this person has already served, has already put himself at risk. He knows what it's like. He's more willing to to do that again. Mm-hmm. So we'll take them, right?
But what about the guy who works for Boeing, who wants an office administrator job, or who wants to become, you know, some type of lead or management, who has a lot of management experience, but doesn't get the job because he doesn't, quote unquote, have a degree, and he just served 9-10+ years in the military, and he's not the right fit for the job?
Go ahead, Elly.
Oh, thank you, Lucas.
Yeah, is Lucas the teacher all of a sudden? He gets to pick.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, it's not all about you today, Anthony. I know it's a weird change of pace, but welcome to the new pace.
Yeah. Do I really take over that much?
Anthony, shut up. Let other people talk.
Well, damn.
Go ahead, Elly.
And it's not a bad thing because you have amazing things to add to the conversation, but like you do.
Nah, it's cool. I know my place.
Anyways.
I'll just sit back and listen and drink my tea.
So I will entirely agree and disagree with you guys. Like, homeless veterans, super sad. Yeah. People not choosing to hire veterans due to like PTSD and shit. Sad. Yeah. And also, before I launch into the buts, let me just say that I don't have any experience with dealing with this. This is my perspective from someone who has had zero experience with trying to find a job with severe PTSD.
You know, some people would say that you're not allowed to talk at this point.
That's very true. Cancel culture is a real thing, right?
That's
you got
fair.
X'd out. You can't say, you don't have, what do they say? You're not allowed to have an opinion
on
this because you haven't experienced it. But here at All in a Day's Work, we value your opinion, Elly.
That's right.
I'm so glad because I'm a part of the team. I would hope so.
And I'm also not paying you, so you're able to say what you want to say for free. So, but don't worry.
Rude.
If we ever start making money, I'll give you, $5 an hour or something like that for your time.
When we make money.
Yeah, merch is coming, people.
We will.
But this isn't about making money. Remember.
Anyway, Elly, go ahead. Say what you gotta say. Sorry.
Thank you. Anyways, I will say that, like, yes, all of that is true. Yes, all of it is hard. Yes, the transition, I could only imagine, would be difficult. That being said, when you have such a contrast between veterans who end up on the streets and veterans who end up owning their own business and becoming millionaires, it's
right, but
so
let's look
open to debate.
Let's look at the statistics, though. Let's look at the statistics. More than half of people that are service members or former service members that are on the streets, okay, aren't drug addicts, aren't junkies, aren't drunks. They just have fallen on hard times and have not been able to get out of that rut because they're stuck in a rut. I've seen it day in and day out.
Speaking of that, I actually read an article just the other day that said veteran-owned businesses thrive when they have other veterans supporting them.
Yeah, but and that's what's crazy. It's more veterans support veteran-owned businesses. Of course, I'm one of them. I choose Warlord Beard Oil because they're a veteran company. I like them, right? But the average civilian person that has no correlation with the military isn't apt to go to a veteran-owned company just because they're a veteran-owned company. Not that that should be your advertisement or your plan to use that. However, if they're going to choose a different business that they know from Farmer Bill or fucking Chuck down the road, they're probably going to do so as opposed to Black Rifle Coffee Company because they don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in letting my experience, letting my service, if I had any products, letting my product speak for itself. I don't feel like having to refer back to a title, a label as my advertisement, as my brand is necessarily the right thing to do.
And you don't really see that a lot because most veterans, I mean, shit, we're humble people. First off, the idea that we volunteer to serve the country, it's a big fucking deal. You sacrifice and give up your rights to serve for people who don't give a shit about you. Let's be honest. Let's be completely honest. Okay, less than 1% of people have ever served in our country. Okay, there's a lot of fucking people here. Don't worry, Elly, I'm gonna get to you. I promise.
330 million.
Okay, so let's think about that for a second. Less than 1%. Not only that, we're humble when we get out. Some of us are extremely salty. A lot of us are extremely salty. However, the majority of us are humble people. We're not going to utilize that platform or that presence of being a veteran as our advertising for whatever product that we're doing. Not all the time. As opposed to, like, you look at Black Rifle, for instance. They put out a very good product and they've made millions. But they put out a fantastic product and the product speaks for itself. However, you have those people who won't even give Black Rifle a try because they've been drinking Folgers for 20 years.
Which is that's fine. It's absolutely fine.
It's preference.
Like I said, if you have a product that you use that has been good to you, treated you right, that you absolutely enjoy, go for it. All I'm saying is you shouldn't have to put a label like, oh, I'm this, so you should shop for me.
I mean, and I think that can become a detriment to success. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, yes, you are a veteran. Yes, you are a service member. You volunteered. We're not taking that away. But if you have a quality product, your product is going to speak for itself.
Absolutely. Just like your experience as a person, your abilities, your how you do things, that all that stuff speaks volumes to who your character, all that speaks volumes to who you are as a person.
Well, my biggest issue is being looked at as being a combat veteran as, well, I'm just the guy. Yes, I do have PTSD. Yes, I do have depression. Yes, I do battle through my own demons, right? As that is all I am. And I do not have the 9+ years of active service, 8 of those years being an NCO. I don't that is not looked at on my resume. I did not go to college, and I have very, very strong opinions on college in our education system, which we can talk about another time.
That is the
But
greatest thing in the world.
But the idea that I don't have the quote unquote experience or what they're looking for because I don't have that degree is what pisses me off.
I mean, you also got to look at the job recs for some of these jobs. They want you to be fresh out of college with 10 years experience. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Let's think about that for a second. How the hell am I going to get the experience if I don't get a job? However, I need a degree. They're set up for you to not be successful.
Absolutely.
They're going to hire that one person that can fit their description, and that's about it.
Yep. Elly, go ahead.
So I'm not trying to be too anti what you guys are talking about, because I believe in this podcast and I believe in this message endlessly, which is why I am here when I could be asleep, even though I have sleeping issues. Because trust me, I wanted to cancel and just go to sleep.
I mean, let's think about it, Elly. Why are you here? Let's actually dial it back. Why are you here? Because I asked you one time and you're like, hell yeah, I'm all in. But why, not to change the subject, but why were you apt to get involved with what me and Lucas and Kate here are trying to do?
So for one, I had no idea you had a podcast. I just knew you posted funny memes. But I had no idea you had a podcast until you were like, hey, want to be a part of it? And like, there's a selfish part of me that like, of course, is like, oh, wow, I could be like a person that people like see. Of course, that's the thing. But also, and just the biggest part is like, I really care about people, and I really, really want to do anything I can to help anyone be okay.
Your heart's in the right place.
Absolutely. And you know what? You don't have to agree with everything that we say, and that's absolutely fine. You know, that's what this group is all about, bringing people together with different opinions and it's still being okay. With everything going on in the world, it's moving towards, oh, if you don't agree with me, then you're wrong, or no, and that's absolutely not true. You know, we live in a world with many different people coming from many different backgrounds with many different experiences. And what we're trying to do primarily is, you know, obviously want to get the message of the veterans out there, but we want to show people that it's okay to have different opinions and still, at least at the very least, simply have a conversation.
Okay, real quick, I agree. Yes, completely agree. Very rarely do I think I'm just completely right and there's no leeway. The only level in which I disagree with anything you guys are saying, and like it's a debatable disagreement because in some cases it's absolutely true. But for like the onesies and twosies out there who are listening to this podcast and they're like, yeah, no, I deserve to be pitied and I'm just not going to do anything with my life because I did my 4+ years and got out. You have to do what is owed to you and what you have to do for you because no one else can. And you still have to fight. You still have to do anything you can to stay above water because that's not even just a military veteran, whatever thing. It's life. No, sometimes it's hard and sometimes it sucks. But don't let those excuses make you lazy, depressed, just the last advocate for yourself. Because if you don't even advocate for yourself, who the fuck will?
I absolutely 100% agree with everything you just said. No matter what you went through in the military, no matter what your experiences are, no matter how bad the military treated you, whatever, just because you get out doesn't mean that you deserve a free ride into whatever. right? It does. It
I don't
just
I don't think very many people think that
and,
specifically.
I
I
don't
agree with you.
either. I just want to clarify because I don't want to back a thought process that I don't believe in.
No, I understand. And like I said, I agree with you. Just because you get out doesn't mean that you're owed. I mean, obviously you're owed things through like disability if you happen to have any health care. I firmly believe that you're owed that. But outside of that, just because you served in the military and you went through certain things, does that mean that you deserve a free ride into success? No, you still have to fight. You still have to show up like everybody else does, right? You just have
Yeah.
to go through a different path than everybody else, a different path.
And put in the
You know,
work.
you still have to put in the work, absolutely. That's
I
all I have to
think
say.
no, I think the idea that people want well, I do think there is a point where people are like, hey, look, I am a veteran owned company, support our company because we're veterans, right? You do see that, right? But I don't think that's the main premise behind why a lot of people get into their businesses. They're just proud of their service, is what I like to think. People are
Yeah,
proud of their service and they like to, I mean, hell, you do sacrifice a hell of a lot when you join the military. And, you know, for a lot of us, you're proud of that. So, to put that out there in the forefront of your business and how, yes, I was in the military, I sacrificed such and such, but now I'm becoming a successful business owner. I'm just trying to highlight that feature. I think that's what the main idea behind putting the veteran in your name or in your company logo or whatever it is. I think that's the main idea because from what I see, the majority of them are humble.
yeah, which is absolutely fine. I'm just saying when you use your label, your title as the advertisement for your
Mm-hmm.
business, then it's an issue like, oh, I am this, so
Well,
support me.
let me ask you
Uh,
this, man. Let me ask you this because we have also utilized that for our platform.
yeah, I understand that, but we don't
Like,
use that as the main advertisement. It's like, hey,
well,
we providing the service with with
right.
doing this.
And not, I think also the difference with us is we're not selling a product. We're just bringing awareness to what
That's
it
why I say
is we're
service.
trying to
You
do.
know,
It's
but
more of a service than it is a business. Cause again,
yeah,
I'm not in this to make money or become famous. I just want to provide a service to help out those in need.
yeah.
Right. I think that's where the difference is as far as because advertising is concerned. I pay for advertising.
Yeah,
I'm not receiving money for that. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It's a difference.
I just feel like if you are using your title, your label, whatever it may be, as a reason for people to give you service or to look into you, whatever, that's I don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
Yeah. No, I can
I'm
see that.
I'm a firm believer in your experience, your service, what you provide, or your product. That should speak for who you are as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and
Your
again,
business, so on.
if you have a good product, it's going to sell.
Absolutely. But anyway,
Hopefully. Go ahead, Ellie.
Oh, Anthony called on me. That's exciting. He never calls on me. It's always Lucas.
well,
Also,
I was gonna say that I was gonna call on you if he didn't. So
It's okay. It's okay. You was busy talking.
I'm not trying to say because I know I really play devil's advocate, and I'm only doing that because I want to be so transparent and I want to be so honest. I don't want to give any room for people to degrade what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if you're a veteran and like you joined for the right reasons, and debatably, if you joined for the wrong reasons, whatever, because you still went through the shit, and you're trying to do anything, even if it's just to get money, which is the last thing I believe in. I have never been monetarily oriented, and my bank account would tell you the same thing. But it shouldn't be a bad thing. If you're trying to advertise anything, you promoting your own credibility towards what the fuck ever, coffee, rifles, whatever, it shouldn't be a negative. And that's not what I'm trying to get at. I just don't want anyone to perceive this as any level of, oh, woe is me, because we knew what we signed up for. We knew that we potentially could have given our entire lives and could be dead right now for this country. That's what we signed up for. We signed up for everything. And we're not trying to say, oh man, like, fuck me, I'm just so sad, fuck.
Well, you're not looking for pity.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, that's one of the reasons why I don't just walk around and tell people that I was in the military. You know, I want people to see me for who I am, not for what I've done, or like I said, my label, my title, whatever. But if people ask, I'll tell them. But I just don't go advertise that on my own accord.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, you're Lucas first.
Tell you're in the military without you saying you're in the military. That's a different kind of compliment. Like, that's my favorite.
I mean, it's the way you carry yourself day in and day out. And that stuff never leaves you. Like I said, the military spends so much time pushing that and ingraining that into your system every day, especially from an active duty. I can only speak from an active duty standpoint because I was only active duty. And it's every single day
you to know,
we're doing
I just ninja caught a liquor bottle like a champ. Not cool because it's a liquor bottle, but also those reflexes though. Go on, Anthony.
I had to throw that out there though.
You had to throw about them cat reflexes. We'll see about 20 minutes when the liquor really sets in how the reflexes are. But no, I don't even know what the fuck I was saying.
I don't know.
You wasn't listening anyways. You don't ever listen to me anyways when I'm talking, Lucas. You just goes in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anthony, let you talk shit to me like that. Ooh, we're gonna fight.
Well, I mean, don't worry, your time will come. I promise you that.
What I said was, why would I listen to somebody I know more than?
Here we go. You know, there's that confidence, Lucas, I've been asking for the longest time. And it's about time you brought it out. It's just a little funny how all of a sudden you got a little brave, either on live or maybe it's the juice, or maybe it's because you're through Zoom right now. Because usually when you're next to me, the confidence isn't there like that. But hey, I'm just saying.
I'm one of the only people that talk shit to you in person. So I don't know what you're talking about.
That is also very true. I'll allow it.
Let me sit in between you two. The entire podcast will just be us talking shit.
Well, I mean, you know, that's what a lot of podcasts have turned into nowadays. But I like to have talking points and agendas and things that we like to talk about so we don't look like we're just talking shit. You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of that, do we have another talking point?
Oh, shit, I got about 4, 5, 6, 7 right now. So,
well, go ahead.
Oh, well, since you asked so nicely. So going into the next talking point, everybody, I wanted to bring up, this doesn't have really much to do with the military, but this is more us as an American society and what's going on right now, every day. If you watch the news, if you are on social media, everywhere you look, you're starting to see how the media is distorting the views of others. Okay. And one of the things that it's been a continuous topic of discussion, especially with all of the quote unquote police violence that's been, you know, happening, is when you defund the police, according to, I'm going to say it, the left, if you defund the police and you decriminalize crimes and take away guns, you have less crimes and less problems. And I just want to hear y'all's opinion on that, because I think it's bullshit, but hey, I just want to hear y'all's opinion.
I just read an article about this right before we got on, and it was about this gentleman that was released for a laundry list of crimes in California, who went out and murdered it was a 7-month-old little kid, and then got rearrested. So
this dude murdered a 7-month-old kid?
Yeah, a 7-month-old baby.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I am all I am I don't think defunding the police is a good idea. I mean, just look at what happened in Ferguson, just look at what happened in Minneapolis just now,
Chicago,
just,
Atlanta.
Chicago, New York. And if you look at the correlation between all of these places, they're all one-sided.
Very
And you
one
guys
sided.
know and you guys know what I'm talking about as far as politics go. But I am one for police reform. I'm one for prison reform, and I say this, and I'm gonna let you talk, Ellie. I do think police reform needs to happen. I think they need to be given more money, not less. More money for proper training, de-escalation techniques, because the first thing that gets taken away when you defund the police is training.
Yep.
And when that happens, you have more officers with less training, and mistakes happen, as is the case in the Kim Potter situation. That could happen more often. And for those of you that don't know who she is, she's the lady that mistaked the taser for the weapon. Now,
Yeah.
although she had 26 years on the force, which is unacceptable for her to make that kind of a mistake. But if you take away from training, that's going to happen more often.
Well, you have to also take into account there are career officers that have never pulled out their gun except to go to the range.
No, I'm understanding to that fact.
Okay, I'm gonna butt in right here, right now.
Okay, go ahead.
So regardless, 26 years in, even if it was only based on training, her reflexive instinct, regardless of the amount of PTSD, regardless of any other fucking excuse you can possibly give her, it should have been to grab on the right side of the belt, right? So not only that.
Elly, real quick, adrenaline takes over the body in these high intense situations, and there are some things that happen under pressure that is completely out of your control. Now, I'm not dismissing what she did or how it could have been misconstrued or how the other officers did not see what she was doing when she thought she was quote unquote tasing this young man. Okay, 26 years on the force. And this is where Lucas is trying to allude to with the idea of funding for more training. If you train enough, these techniques become muscle memory. We know this. We know this is fact. But when you think about it, in Lucas and I's line of work and most police officers' line of work, they go to the range once, maybe twice a year, and they're back out on the streets. So the idea of defunding the police, defunding these programs and taking away from the training is kind of preposterous, because then you might end up having more of these situations because they're not properly trained. Not only are they not properly trained, you got to look at who's applying for these jobs. Not everybody wants to be a cop right now, especially right now.
I mean, just look at what's happening in New York. They had 55,000 people retire or leave the force just in the last year.
Look at what's happening in Seattle, Lucas. We're out here every day.
Exactly. So, Elly, go ahead, and then I'm going to finish my point.
I'm going to take a couple minutes. Please don't interrupt me.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I understand. Because, for one, this is a debatable thing to say, but we're all veterans, and we're all adults, and we're all mature enough, I think, to hear this. But I'm on the wrong skin color to really advocate for my point the way that I want to.
Oh, please tell me. I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Anthony.
No, I want to hear this because I don't believe that there is a wrong skin color when it comes to these things. I believe that everybody has a right to their opinion to say what they need to do or say what they need to say. I say this all the time. We can disagree and still be friends.
Well, you go ahead, Elly. No, I'm not going to say that.
I concur. I completely concur. And I think when it comes to like basic human decency, everyone should get an equal say. But those who have been subjected to such a level of pain, I would also say that their voices should be heard more.
That's fair.
Yeah. So that being said, me as someone who has been subjugated to very little racism, I would say that adrenaline is not enough an excuse to, and like essentially you and I agree, like we truly do. She should have had more training. It should be muscle memory. Adrenaline shouldn't have been a problem. there should be more of a budget towards the police force. The very basic thing that protects the fucking public, like that should be one of the number one objectives for sure. And I think I can speak for quite a bit of the United States when I say I am so fucking tired of seeing these police on black videos because it's so heinous and crazy. And there's people from both sides that are trying to promote both sides so hard that it just like, it makes the whole thing a joke when it's the most serious fucking thing.
Well, you know, that also has to do with the media and just social media in general, how they push this stuff out because it creates content. And you don't,
people should be smarter than that.
They should. They should.
So serious.
They should.
They
but
should
you
want to do their fucking research.
Think about that though. Research takes effort. It's easier for me to scroll through Facebook and see a meme or see something, a funny quick article real quick, to one that might agree with how I feel in that time frame and just stick with that opinion. And that's where we're at right now. And it's no longer at the responsibility of the media to give you the truth. It's for you to seek out that truth. But people are primarily.
I would say both. I'm sorry, Lucas.
No, go ahead.
I know you haven't been able to talk for a while.
It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, now Anthony and I are both drowning you out. But I would definitely say both. I would say that that's not a fucking excuse. And if you're the kind of person, don't get me wrong, your girl has quite a bit of demons and depression. I would never advocate for something that serious unless I just fully fucking heartedly believe in it. Like there's been many times that actually in very like similar circumstances, like George Floyd, I didn't know all of the details, and then people started saying, oh, he actually OD'd, the officer didn't kill him. And I just stopped because I never knew about any level of drugs. But then I also realized that, you know, the officer didn't need to be on his neck for 8 whole minutes. It's just.
We can go down the rabbit hole on who did what and who said what all day long and disagree or agree with whatever happened, especially, and that's just one case. But I think what Lucas was getting to, and trying to bring it back to you, Lucas, is the idea that police reform is a thing that needs to happen. There is an identified issue within the police structure. There's also a society issue when it comes to that. I believe this is a few years ago, the Dallas police chief, you know, after the shooting, when they had the bombing incident and that guy who went rogue, that was the National Guard guy, and they had to seek him out with the drone bomb and pretty much blow him up. He was shooting off of the cops, picking off cops.
I think I remember hearing about this.
So this is a few years ago, and at the time, the Dallas police chief was like, "Look, man, we're hiring. If we at this point, just come join us, and we'll show you what we have to go through." You know, there's so many people who have an opinion who have never experienced any kind of thing, regardless of military, EMT, firefighter, law enforcement. They just have never experienced these things, and they are the ones making policy and procedures and things for us to go off of. So when you have that, you run into this disconnect because they don't know. They're just looking out for what's the best interest of the people, or so they say, because it's easy to say. It's easy for us to agree on, well, at the safety discretion, maybe that officer shouldn't have done such and such. And I'm not agreeing that she, you know, should have did this or should have did that. I will agree with more funding and more training, because we know for a fact that works.
More funding, more training is my idea of police reform, simply because, like you said, and like we've all said, more training leads to better results, leads to better cops, which means less incidents like the one I just mentioned. Um, but as far as the media goes, and we can go down this rabbit hole. I'm just gonna make this comment right here. I think the media needs to be held responsible for some of the stuff that they're doing. I personally think that the media is doing this for ratings, right?
Absolutely.
Trying to show all these bad things, because bad things gives ratings. Just like what you see two news articles, one's about a grisly murder, and one's about a child surviving cancer. Which one you gonna click on? It's probably the one about the grisly murder, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
So,
we get that feeling of adrenaline, and we like to see it's interesting. It's more interesting to us.
yeah, I do agree with you. But going back to my point before that, so two things: police reform and then prison reform. I personally think prison reform needs to be stricter punishments. I truly believe that, because when you have, especially today, when you have all these people, prison has become a turnstile. They come in, they go in, they get processed, they come right back out. Over the last year, with all these uh, no bail sentences, right, or whatever, right? So
Well,
I think we need to start holding people accountable. If you break the law, then you deserve to pay the pay the time.
you and I don't want to get too personal,
Yeah.
but you have a very, very what's the word I'm looking for?
He doesn't want to get too
Emotional.
personal as he proceeds to get personal.
No, I know, right? You have a pretty deep connection when it comes to prison and people as they're getting out of prison and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, with the current system that we have, um, do you feel that for those that are getting out, that they're given a fair chance,
I do think
regardless
that.
of the crime that they committed in the past, or even that they're given an opportunity, even while they're serving, to try to better themselves?
So,
Because
let's I know I understand what you're trying to say. And let's get this straight, right? If you get convicted of a crime, you go to prison, you do your time, you come out. I absolutely think you deserve to have a fair shake at life. I absolutely. You did your time. You paid your debt to society for doing whatever it was that you did. You should be able to move forward without that being a hindrance. Absolutely. What I am talking about specifically is people that get uh, convicted of crimes, they get arrested for certain things, they go into prison, and then they get let out.
okay, I get you. I see
That
what you're
that's
saying.
specifically what I'm talking about.
Prior to
Okay,
like when they should have been let out. Yeah.
okay. Um, whew, this is gonna tickle someone's fancy here.
I don't care.
Um, what
I'm
about
ready.
the idea? And I know this is fuck. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, what about the idea that you have, and I'm gonna bring up race. You have the same crime committed by people of different ethnicities and different races that receive harsher punishments than the others, because
Okay.
we know that to be true, and we see that regardless
So
of priors or not.
I would say this, right?
This is an obvious answer.
So
To show the
Is it,
political system
it
doesn't see that yet, it's a
is it?
true shame, and they obviously don't.
Yeah, but
But
this
this
is who
is
we're
an
electing.
obvious answer.
This is who they're
so
electing.
so so what I'm going to say to that, if you have two people, race does not matter to me. I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic. I don't give a shit.
To you.
Yeah, to me, I don't give a shit what you did. If you did the crime, then you're going to get this sentence, right?
Yeah.
So, but as far as when we're talking specifically for today, with all these judges issuing out all these verdicts for prison sentences, you have to look at the prior. You have to look at priors. You have to look at the extenuating circumstances. Like, was this a hate crime? Was this towards children? Like, did he go out of his way to do this? Like, was it planned? Like, those things you have to take into consideration when providing a sentence. in my
Yes.
opinion.
Yes.
Now
And I
if you have two people, one person, let's just take for example, he robbed armed robbery. Let's just take armed robbery, right? You have two people, they both commit armed robbery on a convenience store, right?
mhm.
One person is his first time doing it, was doing it to feed his family. Second person has done this several other times, right? Has shown a
Pattern.
history of
Mhm.
doing this thing, attacking people, so on. You cannot give these two people the same sentence because this person has a history of criminal activity. This person just did it one time. You have to
So
change up the sentence.
what I'm talking about is taking out the history between the two. I'm
No,
talking about taking the same crime being committed by two people of two different races without any priors,
see,
and how what
th-
statistics have shown how one race gets hit harder than the other.
see,
So,
I would go ahead, Ellie, and then I'll make my point.
okay. I would just like to throw out there that, like, I am not saying that this is not a thing at all. For one, just because, like, zero experience here, I'm just going from, like, what I've perceived. And that could be entirely wrong. I don't fucking know. I'm pasty as fuck. But I think a lot of this, understandably, comes from a racial perspective. Given all of the racial issues in our history, completely understandably, when just
It's okay. Go ahead and
pretty
say it.
understandably might come from a geographic type of issue. So the areas in which, there were, like, I don't know, slaves, and probably said slave murders were not slave murders, said slave owners were murdered. Like, it could be a more poor area, and they can't pay for a better lawyer per se, as opposed to these all white societies where theoretically they're able to pay for just the best lawyer. So I'm not saying
So
that
just
necessarily it's not a race issue, but I think that at this point in time, it might be more of like a monetary divide.
an economic issue is what you're trying to say. So I can understand your point. I just think when you're dealing with criminal activity, you have to
Oh,
look. You have
Anthony, I just saw you put your head in your hand. Tell me what you're thinking. I'm sorry, Lucas.
no
No,
no
I
go
just
Please tell
an
me. I don't want
economic
to be a dick.
an economic issue has been known to be a race issue
Well, okay,
since the
that's what I'm
I
saying,
foundation
though, is
since
that
the
there has
foundation
been.
of our country.
so
And there has been an economic issue when it
in
comes to
the
race.
in the past, absolutely. In today's age, I don't think
But
economics is just strictly limited to one
it's
race.
it's not limited to one race. But what I'm saying is that if you look at poverty rates, the vast majority of people that are in poverty are people of color. Stats will show
Well,
that.
that's the point,
That's not to
because
dismiss. That's not to dismiss that there are Caucasian people that are in poverty. I'm not saying that that's not true. I know that's true. I know that for a fact. I know there are people uh, that are white people who have had nothing coming from the very beginning, and that have some what or have made something out of their lives coming from absolutely nothing. But when you look at the majority of the stats, people of color are the ones that are more predominantly in that issue. That's all I'm saying in that aspect, because economics and where we were placed back in the day when there were Jim Crow era laws and there were these society in divides and segregations, the ghettos that were provided and pushed that people of color were pushed into these lower income areas where they weren't provided the same opportunities. Not to say that that's not the same case today. Okay. Not to say that's not the same case today. However, there are certain people that come from those issues that haven't been able to get out of that, and that they don't know any better, and that they're still trying to, when they finally make something of themselves, are still giving back and trying to help out their family members who are still currently going through that. And we, like I said, we can really go down that rabbit hole, but we don't have 4 or 5, 6 hours to talk about this because.
Or a year, because we can talk about that all day long.
I mean, and we could, and you know, I welcome a debate. Me and Lucas, you and I talk about this pretty much every day.
Oh, absolutely. But I just want to get back to the criminal aspect. Wait.
Before we get back to anything, let me just put my last nugget of opinion in there. I actually agree. I don't think that's due to anyone's fault other than the shitty events of history.
Look, some people are dealt a shitty hand.
And that's fine. That's completely fine. And it's not expected to receive a shitty hand and become just
Jeff Bezos.
Let me think of the one person I can think of that really just excelled. Martin Luther King Jr. Like, it's not
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, it's not expected to go above and beyond. It's completely fair that you are just subjugated to a shitty hand. And we as a country and a society need to be better. We are at the point where it's just expected to be better. There's no reason to not be better. We have all of the resources at our hands.
No,
we can see exactly how we're equal and not equal, and it shouldn't even be a fucking debate anymore.
It's not about the resources not being available. We know that there are resources there and that they are available, but there are some people who don't know that. There's also some people who don't have access to those resources.
So that's why we're here right now.
Go ahead, Lucas.
I'm just going to say this about the criminal side of things, and then we can talk about the economic side.
Where we started, go ahead.
Yeah. So going back 3 conversations ago, so police reform and prison reform, with going back to the sentencing. All right, that's where I'm going to start. When you go into criminal sentencing, you have to look at history behind the person. And this is, in my opinion, this is just an opinion. I have no stats to back this up. This is just my opinion. I personally believe that this is why that some people happen to get harsher sentences, not because of certain race, because of history behind the person. And I'm not, again, I want to be very clear here. I'm not saying that certain races or people are criminals. I'm not saying that. I'm saying certain people are criminals. And when you have these people that go into prison and get out of prison, go to commit more crimes, you have to give these people harsher sentences. That's all I'm saying. You have to look at the history behind the person when you're issuing out a sentence. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair.
Fair.
Those are fair points. But what about the guy who doesn't have any priors?
Then I think they should be held on the same standard. But this also goes into where the crimes were at, because if you have one crime getting committed out in, countryside nowhere, and one crime getting committed out in the city, these judges are going to be different. So obviously they're going to hand down different sentences for the most part. So, I just don't think it's fair to say, hey, people are statistically getting different crimes when statistically these people aren't held to the same criminal justice system.
You also have to take into account that majority of the prisons are state-ran prisons, not federal penitentiaries, and they're or private. So there are different statutes that come into play when sentencing is provided. Okay.
And that comes into play.
It's hard to say that we should have one book that says if you do this kind of crime, you only get this sentence, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of people say, I don't understand. I think this, he committed this. Why didn't he get the sentence? That guy got that sentence. And then because each state has different stipulations on how they perceive this crime as opposed to this crime. Let's look at the West Coast, for instance, right now, the entire West Coast between Washington, Oregon, and California, where right now, legally, you can commit smaller crimes and you will not be charged at all, not even at a misdemeanor. But you go ahead and do that shit in South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, you're going to get your ass handed.
Exactly. And that's the only point I'm trying to make. Not only do you have to look at the different states that these crimes are getting handed out, you got to look at the different judges. Some judges are just harsher than other judges. Some are more lenient. So there's a whole list of things that you can put a pin on that.
We understand, at least I would like to think the majority of us understand that our justice system needs work.
Absolutely.
It needs work, and not necessarily more laws, but it needs work. it needs a massive revision because things are constantly changing. So the book should be constantly changing as it comes to laws because society is constantly changing.
I agree. I personally think that as the society grows, technology, all that stuff, as we proceed through the time period, I think our justice system should be reformed every so often to reflect those changes.
I mean, absolutely. You talk about technology. We're running into the point now, especially now, where we have things and ideas that we didn't even have 10 years ago.
Exactly. So,
you know what I mean? The fact that we're doing Zoom calls right now live on Facebook to talk to whoever's listening, maybe it's 3 people, and then later on it'll be 10,000 who hear this one fucking message that we're talking about, right? The idea 20 years ago, we weren't even thinking that this would be possible unless we were on the news. Let's think about that for a second. The first iPhone came out in what, 2006, 2007?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're moving very fast, but we also have the same laws and rules and regulations that have been in place for 60, 70, 80 years. We also have the same people in Congress for 60, 70, 80 years.
Maybe not which 80. Is a
not
talking
80, maybe not 80, but you guys understand where I'm going with.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in term limits and age restrictions for elected officials.
Absolutely. So. I mean, we have an age restriction on being able to run for office, but there should also be a gap for when you're supposed to be cut the fuck off. I just agree.
Absolutely.
Looking at who we got right now, you know,
I mean,
cognitive issues are apparent, but we're not ready to talk about that.
Cognitive issues also start for many different people at many different ages. So
absolutely. I mean, hell, if you look at the vast difference between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden right now, where I believe Bernie Sanders is older than Joe Biden, look how fucking strong and well kept Bernie Sanders is. And I'm not a huge Bernie fan, but I think the motherfucker funny as hell. Look at how cognitively he's just he's there. He knows what the hell's going on. And then you look at Joe and it's yo, what the fuck is going on, man? It's almost to a point I used to laugh at the shit when he be giving a speech or some shit. I used to laugh at it in the beginning, but now 4 months in, I'm kind of concerned. I'm yo, son, this motherfucker, all right? Hey, Grandpapa, you take your meds today? You take your pills?
I want to throw out there that I don't know exactly what sources Anthony is going off of. But given today's technology, which knowing Anthony, I'm probably wrong. Assuming he's going off of 1 or 2 sources, it is so easy to fake the shitty side of a person. You could easily make me look like I was just drinking this whole time and took every time I stuttered and make me look like an incompetent bitch. Even though I'm not. I have some...
That's why I like to do this live. And
that's the thing about being live is you can still modify that. And make it look like...
No, you can, especially because there's a delay.
After the fact, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. And there is a delay, but...
I mean, if we want to talk about just being truthful and transparent, I mean, our news isn't even that, citing the sources and everything. We can't even trust some of the sources Just look at what NBC did with the Ma'Khia Bryant situation. And forgive me if I mispronounce her name.
Yeah, no,
they edited a video out to show that she didn't even have a knife.
And I'm thinking right now what you're seeing.
Any news source anymore. Like that's actually where I'm at. And not only am I an NCO in the United States military, I don't trust the news that's coming to me. I'll trust
Elly,
NCOs who are going to go to battle with me.
Elly, give your mic a second to catch up because you're coming in a little bit broken. Just a little bit. Maybe try to adjust your mic. Are you coming to us on a phone? Okay. I figured as much. I'm gonna see about ordering a headset microphone, kind of like what you have, Lucas. Maybe we can send one to Elly that she can plug into her phone until she gets herself an iPad or a laptop or something like that.
This is the one you gave me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to be working just fine. Okay, yeah. Maybe I'll look for that same one. Elly, send me your address and I'll send you one, okay?
Thank you for thinking that we're
all right. First of all, I just want to throw some clarification. We'll send you one, all right? Because me and him are in this together. I don't want everybody to get the idea that it's only him doing all this. I put in my fair share.
Oh, he absolutely does, everybody. I just be teasing him. I just figured what I meant by I'll send it to us because I have that saved and I could just send it to her. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're not going to get into semantics.
That's neither here nor
there. Logistics and nothing like that, But anyways, but yeah, we could definitely get you. We can get you a newer one because. That way we can have that crisp audio as we're still learning, but the idea is to have crisp audio because eventually these videos and these live videos, what Kate does, she pulls the feed down and she turns them into MP3s and then puts them on Spotify and iHeart and things like that. So quit playing with your pit stains. What's funny is I say that now, but the people on Spotify aren't going to be able to see her pit stains.
I know, right? They're gonna be like, "What?"
Exactly, and that's exactly why I did it. Was for the comment.
Oh, don't worry, because you still got YouTube and Facebook, so they gonna see them sweaty stains.
Have you seen my stories? Okay, we need to have a podcast with just my stories. I swear.
But we ain't got all day. I don't know how you get any work done as much as you're on social media, but that's neither here nor there.
Keep talking shit, baby girl. Also, I do have PT tomorrow morning, so we need to find a wrap-up point.
Oh, that's perfectly fine with me because we've been talking for a little bit.
Yeah, I actually think that right there in itself is a good wrap-up point. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, everybody, we kind of went on a myriad of topics today, and like we've talked about in the past with this podcast on a day's work, we aim to please. We want to have those live, those raw, engaging conversations. No topic is ever left off the shelf. We'll talk about pretty much anything, but we do like to aim towards the idea that this is a veteran-led podcast, and we want to talk about the military. We want to talk about the transition. We want to talk about the resources. And also in turn become and continue to stay a resource for veterans. So
absolutely.
With that being said, please be sure to like, subscribe, share our videos with your friends, your family members. Check out our website at www.allinadays.com. We have a link on there on our website that has where you can just listen to the podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, all those places that you can listen to podcasts. You can listen to these episodes on there while you're driving, going to work, whatever you want to do for free. It's all on there. So go ahead and just listen to us. If you guys have comments or concerns, email us, write us. We'll talk about some stuff that you want to talk about. But go ahead, Lucas.
No. So we thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all your support. You guys are awesome. Again, this is just couple of veterans talking about our opinions, talking about our side, our views. So we
Hey,
appreciate everything that you guys do.
We're no longer a couple of veterans. We're a few now, right?
A couple can be more than 3 men.
No, I think a couple that technically means two, but
in today's society, a couple.
Hey, man, I identify as a couple as two, and them. No, we're not ready. I'm gonna get in trouble for that one.
Yeah, you are.
I'm gonna get canceled for that one. Sorry, Zuck. My bad, Zuck. Fuck. But for real, people, we love you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stay safe. Remember, check out our website, like, share, and tune in tomorrow for me and Lucas's live episode. We're actually going to be, oh, wait, hold on. My producer's talking to me. 6 p.m. Pacific time. So 6 p.m. Pacific time, we're going to be doing a live call with a veteran who is now a mental health and suicide prevention specialist. So
yeah, no, tell me because call. Like, I'm not a real part of the team, but like, yeah.
No, you are. You're definitely a part of the team, but you might be asleep at 6 p.m. Pacific time since you got PT and shit. You know what I'm saying? So,
that's facts, actually.
So I was just looking out for you. So tomorrow we're gonna be going live with what's his name? Armando. We'll be going live with Armando tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be a definite good episode because him as the professional dealing with this day in and day out, I'm going to pick his brain for some questions and just kind of like what he does and how we can help and get his name out there for veterans out there, because mental health is a huge deal. Something
absolutely
I advocate for more than almost anything. And then,
while you ask all the questions, I'm just going to be sitting there looking pretty.
Well, you can go ahead and do that while I sip my tea.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. We got big things coming up. Stay, keep in store, keep watching us. Thank you for all your support.
Absolutely. Thank you, Elly, for sticking with us and having a conversation today.
Absolutely. We look forward to the more.
Elly, is there anything that you might want to add or anything that you want to say to the people before I cut this feed?
Real quick, to piggyback off the cert. Thank you for, not that it's your choice, but for allowing me to be a part of your community. I am so flattered and humbled and honored to be here. And once again, just one final time, if anyone wants to slide in my DMs and talk about anything,
they're going to talk about. They're going to slide in your DMs now. They're going to. Damn well they're going to do that.
Well, that's all I have to say.
And you know why. Everybody, we love you. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely.